I believe everybody has really enjoyed the talk just now by Frederick about business creativity. He came over to our seminar in Singapore last year, and he delivered such a wonderful presentation that we thought everybody, like more people should listen to his presentations on business creativity, ideas, why you should look at change and how you should look at them. And so that's why we invited him back today, and I really hope you enjoyed the presentation just now. And so today, in this session, we'll just jump straight to the trends that are happening in Asia right now, in Thailand, affecting businesses, and what can you do with these trends. But before we start, Frederick's always a very tough act to follow, but I'll try my best. And before we start, as Victoria has mentioned earlier this morning, that our kind of trends are very much based on the idea of the innovations. And so it's very important to be in the right frame of mind when we look at the innovations that I'm going to show you later in a presentation. So before we jump into the trends, we're going to do a very small interactive warm-up exercise. And I'm just going to show you 2 innovations that we have spotted in Trendwatching. And I'll do a quiz as to how many of you think each innovation is a good one or a bad one. So I'm going to show you 2 innovations, and I want you to judge them, whether one is good or one is bad, or do you think both is good or do you think both is bad. So this is an exercise, and when you go out there after the seminar and you look at an innovation, you look at a new exciting campaign, then you can start putting this trend spotting skills into action to decide whether an innovation is a good one or a bad one. So the first innovation that I have is MyBump. So MyBump is a service in Malaysia. In Kuala Lumpur, traffic is really, really bad, and I believe a lot of people in Bangkok can identify with that. I'm from Jakarta myself, and traffic in Jakarta is terrible. And what this service does is that when you're sitting in a traffic jam doing nothing and getting really bored and getting really annoyed, they're making it better because now you can earn money while you're sitting in a traffic jam. How? By putting up a sticker on your car that advertises about a company or MyBump's clients or even the MyBump company itself. And if you agree to put a sticker of advertisement on your car, they will give you money for it. So if you're like sitting in a traffic jam doing nothing, your car has an advertisement on it and you earn money from that one. So that's the first innovation that we have, MyBump from Malaysia. The second innovation that we have is Wakey. So Wakey is a social alarm clock. How it works is that if I have to catch a flight tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., so I need to get up at 4, and I'm not a morning person, so I'll put it into the app, I need to wake up at 4 in the morning, and tomorrow morning at 4, somebody from somewhere around the world that I have never met before, of the opposite gender, will call me and give me a morning call. And they say, if you like the person who is giving you a morning call, you can extend the conversation and turn it into something else rather than just a morning call. So it's a social alarm clock that wakes you up with a call from a stranger from somewhere around the world of the opposite gender that you have never met before. All right, so let's vote. Who thinks MyBump is a good innovation? Who thinks this is a good service that you can earn money while sitting in traffic jams? All right, I see a few hands coming up. So I think general consensus is that yeah, it's a good innovation. People will use it. I would use this if I drove like in places where traffic is really bad. Who thinks Wakey is a good innovation? There are some hands coming up from the front here, but majority of people are not putting up their hands. All right, so can I just hear some responses, some feedback of why do you think Wakey is a good innovation? Would you use this? Would you get a morning call from someone somewhere around the world that you've never met before? I see some heads nodding. Yeah, some people would use it, some people would not use it. Personally, I would not use this. I think this is creepy. And in other presentations where I've asked people, would you use this, would you not use this? Some people would tell me, my wife is sleeping next to me. I don't want her to hear that I'm getting a wake-up call from like a girl in Russia or something. And yeah, and when we first spotted this in the office, we also thought, this is a really weird innovation. Who would use something like this? It's quite creepy, and who on earth would use Wakey? But then we read articles saying that actually Wakey is really popular, and it has a base of 200,000 active users, and it's making 20,000 wake-up calls a day, and it's like really popular, and it's very it's gaining a lot of traction. So we decided to do some stalking, and we went to their Facebook page. And apparently, people do love Wakey. So I think if you can see the second comment that people here leave on, these are real screenshots from their Facebook page. So here we have this Hannah Roberts saying that for the last 2 days, the seemingly impossible has been achieved. I have got out of bed at 6 a.m. The first was thanks to a call from Russia, the second from Shropshire, the UK. Plus, there is something so cozy and friendly about coaxing other people out of bed. I may not have met them, but I want to wake them up gently. Best app ever. And people just love Wakey. And Wakey is still around even until today. My colleague Josephine in Singapore, she has it downloaded on her phone. And apparently they're branching out there and you can like do other things on the app other than just morning calls. So the lesson from this exercise is that we are not the only judge. It is very, very tempting and it's very easy to look at innovations that you see out in the market when there's a new product, there's a new service. It's very tempting to look at them based on our own lens of tastes and preferences. Oh, I think this is nice, I think this is weird, I think this is creepy, I think this is great. But don't just take the innovation at face value, but go a bit deeper and find out what is the insight that is driving this innovation. And that can tell you a lot about consumers. And more often than not, you can translate that insight for your own business. So when we go through the trends after this, I'm going to show you a lot of innovations. And when you look at the innovations, don't take them all at face value, because when you first heard about them, you might think, oh, it's like really weird. Like, who would use something like that? I can't do this in my business or like in my industry. But if you can find the insight that's driving the innovations and what does it tell you about consumers and their expectations, you can always translate that for your own business and for your own consumers. So on to the trends, and these are the 5 that we're going to share in this session, and there will be 5 more in the session after this one, because if we combine all 10, everybody's just going to be brain fried by the end of it. But yeah, and the first one is centered around this idea of Asian cities. Asia is an increasingly urban place with cities propping up left, right, center, and we see that a lot of people in China, they live in cities. So 700 million people in China, they live in a city. So that's like 55.6% of the total population, or we can say 1 in 2 people, like 1 in 2 person in China live in a city. And city living, it's great. You can get access to a lot of shopping malls and international cuisine and a lot of things and a lot of opportunities, a lot of excitement. But city living also brings with it a lot of woes as well. So there's traffic, there's pollution, and people are getting busier and busier. And there is a study recently about the global ranking of longest working hours in the world. And Hong Kong takes the cake as the #1 city in the world with the longest working hour. But Bangkok is not so far behind, and Bangkok is like #5 globally as a city with the longest working hours. So we have some really hard workers in the room today. And what this all comes to is this trend that we call all hours access. So all hours access is the idea that with city living, with urban diversity, business hours and activity times are not so conventional anymore. They're getting more flexible. Number 1, people's working hours are getting longer. Number 2, people who have flexible working hours, it means they are working 24/7. So people like me, when I work in Trendwatching, I have to have calls with my colleagues in New York, in Lagos, and that always means for me in Singapore to take calls at like 11 at night or midnight even. And so I stay up till 3 in the morning working and everything, and more often than not, at 3 in the morning, if you need anything, nobody's open at that hour. But smart brands are starting to catch on to this trend, and they are now giving access to people to their services at odd hours, because they are realizing that actually people, there's no such thing as a 9 to 5 lifestyle anymore, because now it's a 24/7 lifestyle in all cities across Asia. So in Manila, there's Diligence Cafe. This is a nocturnal cafe that only opens at 3 p.m. until 7 a.m. the next day. And it is open to cater to students and young working professionals who are looking for a workspace outside of usual cafe hours. And this cafe just opened in August because they were successfully crowdfunded on a crowdfunding platform. So it actually shows you that there is interest, and a lot of people are supporting this idea that they want a space that opens during the times when nobody else is open. in Singapore, the Housing Development Board, HDB, Singapore just launched Van Cafe. So Van Cafe is basically, so in Singapore we have like hawker centers, so we have food places at the housing apartment areas. And these are usually open only until 9 or 10 at night. But now the HDB board is saying, actually people still need food at like 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning. And how they solve this problem is by opening a waiterless cafe. So it's a vending machine cafe that you can just go to the vending machine and then you can get hot food out of the machine. So it's not just sandwiches or like the normal things you can get from a vending machine like cookies or crisps, but you can actually get fried noodles and fried rice, and it's like piping hot from the vending machine. So the Thai equivalent would be to get a piping hot tom yum goong out of a vending machine at 3 in the morning. Yeah, and when they first opened, it drew like large crowds and people were queuing to try it out. And there is this guy who actually goes back there like 3 times within a week. And he said, and I really like his comment when he says that you don't have to worry anymore that the shops are going to close at 9 or 10. 24 hours, 7 days a week, you can get access to hot food whenever you need it. It's just like 7-Eleven. And if you're saying, but I can't overhaul my entire business model and just start opening a 24/7 kind of service center of anything, then why not try adapting it to a smaller scale initiative? So Kenneth Cole is actually a retailer in New York City. And what they do with their flagship store is that it's available to access 24/7 to loyal customers. So if you're a VIP with them, you can just message a number and the store will be open for you within 3 hours. So if you need the store to be open when it's not open, you can just message the person and the store will be open for you and you can shop there within 3 hours. So the light bulb moment for this trend, Victoria mentioned a bit about light bulb moments this morning as well. So for each trend, think about the one application that you can totally bring back tomorrow to your team that you're excited about, or the one innovation that really stood out to you. And think about, for this one, think about how you can tailor your services or even your business model to cater to the 24/7 lifestyle of the new urban consumers in Asia. And the second trend that we have is around, again, centered around this idea of on-demand services. Like you have on-demand access to a store, and just some of the things that you can get on-demand in the past year that's really interesting. So in Malaysia, you can get on-demand durians. So Grab launched this initiative, on-demand durians, to celebrate the durian season, and you can get your durians delivered to your doorstep by these guys that you see on screen. Amazon Japan launched this service that you can get on-demand Buddhist priests. So if you need somebody to perform a Buddhist ritual for you or offer prayers for you, you can order a Buddhist priest on demand from Amazon Japan. This picture is from a library in Paris, and what they do is that if you go there and you see, you want to buy a book and the book is not available, they have a very powerful printer that can print your book on demand. So if you want a copy and it's not available, and it's very annoying sometimes when you want to buy a book and instead of having to go to Facebook, you can just like get them to print your book on demand in the store. So if everything is now available on demand, then what is next for that? What does it mean for consumers, and what does it mean for businesses? And enter this trend that we call live on demand. Live on demand is an idea that with the sharing economy being so rampant, with on-demand services being so rampant, people now are very used to not having to bother with owning things, but they just want access to whatever they need, where and when they need it. So the best way to explain this trend is by showing you the examples. The first one is Rental Mojo from India. Rental Mojo is a service that gives you on-demand furniture for hire. So the insight behind this is that a lot of people who live in cities these days, they don't have their own place, so they rent an apartment, especially if you're an expat or you're moving all the time, you have flexible working arrangements, and you don't just stay in one place, you just rent a place, and it's such a pain to buy furniture all the time, and when you have to move, you have to like sell your furniture and buy new ones, or even hire a van to move your furniture. So what they say is that the consumers of the future, they won't be buying furnitures anymore, but if they are moving around all the time, they just need access to furniture. So what this company does is that you can pay $30 a month, and then you get access to whatever furniture you need, and when you move to the next place, they'll take care of your old furniture and deliver your new furniture to your new place. So you don't need to own furniture anymore. You just need access. You just need to get access to furniture when you need it. There is Tribe Car in Singapore. So Tribe Car is on-demand car hire for cars for hire. So it's from 2 to 6 Singapore dollars per hour. And cars in Singapore are so expensive, and you can only keep them for 5 years at most. And so what they do is that you don't have to buy cars anymore. You just have to sign up with Tribe Car, pay $2 to $6 an hour when you need a car, and you get access to their fleet of cars on demand. The last one is a personal favorite. I'm a subscriber. So it's Style Theory. And what Style Theory does is that you pay $80. So I pay 80 Singapore dollars a month. And I don't have to buy clothes anymore. What it does is that you get access to their entire wardrobe of designer clothing. And so once a week, I get a box of 3 clothes. And then I can wear them. And when I'm bored with them, I return them. And they give me a box of 3 new clothes. And I don't even have to take care of laundry or shipping because they take care of it for me. And this solves the problems of all the ladies in the world, and it's amazing. So it's about this whole idea that you don't have to buy things anymore. You just need to get access to them when you need it, where you need it, at the way that you need it. And so that's life on demand. And so think about how this is going to change expectations of consumers all around Asia next year, and think about how you can tailor your business models or create new initiatives or launch new things that can cater to this new changing expectation about life on demand. All right, so the third trend that we have for today is around the idea of cities and how, commute is really bad. So this is like a very famous picture of Bangkok traffic, and people get stuck in traffic all the time. And there's actually this data point that made me laugh quite a bit. So it says only 23% of business people all around the world think that commuting is productive and profitable. And a majority of people say it's a drainage of personal productivity and time and personal time. And so when we first saw these statistics, we were like, isn't this a given? Like, who would ever say that commute is productive and they love to commute, right? But there's actually somebody who says, somebody who bothers to do a study to prove that a lot of people don't like to commute, and it's a waste of time for a lot of people. But what's interesting is that last year, there's a European court ruling that says that commute is actually work and employees should be paid for it. So if you live 2 hours away from your office, that commute time should be counted as your work time, and you should be paid for it. So all the employees rejoice if this ever comes to Asia. But what it does is that it's funny and we laugh at it, but what it tells us is that how much consumers today, they value their time and resources, they value their productivity. And so we have this kind of thing saying that, commute time, idle time, it has to be monetized somehow. And this is supported by a separate but relevant train of thought around entrepreneurship and freelancing, and how these days consumers are all about going up to Etsy or any kind of online marketplace to sell stuff or create something at home and sell it on Instagram. Or a lot of people are becoming entrepreneurs. They just want to be productive with their time and produce something. And we see that according to Spring Singapore, there are 55,000 young companies in Singapore in 2014 as compared to only 23,000 in 2004. And so what it means is that a lot of people now, they really value their time and their productivity, and they want to monetize whatever they can monetize as much as possible. And this leads us to our trend that we call effortless earnings. And effortless earnings is this idea around how people's expectations around what can be monetized and what cannot be monetized, and their productivity and idle time and resources, they have changed. And so now smart brands are partnering with them and letting them to earn something out of whatever that used to be idle or not used. And so this is where the MyBump example enters. So if you're sitting in commute and you don't have anything to do with your time, and enters this brand that helps you to actually earn money while sitting in commute. There's also Come Rent Me. So Come Rent Me is an app in China that lets young people monetize their spare time. So if you have a spare time, you can just list it up on the app, and somebody who needs a companion or anything, it's not anything weird. It's just like for a dinner or like a walk in the park or something like that. And you get paid up to $30 an hour for your time to accompany someone else. And Shopback is a startup that lets you earn money when you shop. So this is also the best. Whenever you shop, they actually give you cashbacks. So all you have to do is, let's say if you want to make online purchases on Expedia or even Alibaba Express or anything, you can just go to the websites, but it's through the Shopback portal, and then you can just shop as usual, as per normal and everything, and get your purchases and stuff. But at the end of the month, Shopback will give you a statement that says, oh, you shopped at all these retailers this month through our portal, and so this is the cashback that you're getting. And it's really quite good because a lot of people are using it, and one of my personal best friends, she uses this all the time, and she shops around like $200, $300 a month on like AliExpress, and she gets almost 10% cash back to her like in a month out of Shopback. So you don't really have to do anything. There's no effort entailed to it. You just get money back when you shop. So the light bulb moment for this trend is think about how you can delight your consumers, that when they just interact with your brand, or even if they just step into your store and they can get some kind of a reward, or if they can monetize anything out of that. Or think about any of their idle time or idle resources, and think about how you can help them be more productive in that idle time. So those are the first few trends that we have, and the next one that we have centers around social media. And there are 2.3 billion active social media users globally. But no, this trend is not about what's the latest things brands are doing on Facebook, or what's the next Instagram thing that you should do for your brand engagements, because you can go to all the other websites to read about that. But what I'm trying to share today is, what does it mean when people are all on social media, when people are all so social and so connected? What does it mean for consumerism at large? And we see that it doesn't stop. There are 6,000 tweets tweeted per second. So this is a data point from Twitter. 6,000 tweets tweeted per second, which means 350,000 per minute, 500 million per day, and 200 billion tweets per year. So that's a lot of tweets going around Twitter, and people are also social on Twitter. And there are 60 billion messages handled by WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger per day. So with all these messages, with all these social connections and all these digital connections going around, what does it mean for the world at large? And this is a trend that we call borders breached. And the idea around this is that on social media, everybody is connected. Doesn't matter if you're a Thai in Thailand, or you're an American in America, or even if you're a Thai in America or an American in Thailand, everybody is connected. Everybody can connect to one another, talk to one another. Everybody is sort of equal on social media and on the internet. But the real world is not catching up as fast. You can't just anyhow cross the border and go to another country if you need visa requirements. There are immigration debates everywhere. There are foreigner debates everywhere. Foreign policies that people are questioning. Oh, we don't want foreign workers in our countries and stuff like that. So what brands are doing, they're not trying to, I'm not saying that you should go and try tackle foreign policy problems, but what brands can do is to take baby steps to help bridge that gap between the kind of liquid connections that you can get up on social media and try to bring that to the real world. So one example is done by Harbin Beer in China. What it does is that it created this cross-border competitions, because China is such a huge country and it borders a lot of countries around the sides. So at every border checkpoint, Harbin Beer conducted a competition between the Chinese team and the neighboring country team. And it's to foster relationships and friendliness, and to show people, hey, we're not so different after all, and let's come create some connections in the real world. Grab in Singapore and Malaysia launched this initiative where you can ride a Grab car or a Grab taxi across the border. So it's not just within Singapore or within Malaysia only, but if you need to commute between Singapore and Malaysia, you can get a Grab and commute across the border in a Grab car or a Grab taxi. And when it first got launched, they launched it for free, so you can actually get free rides across the border from Singapore to Malaysia. Tiger Beer is a Singaporean brand as well. Tiger Beer went and created a pop-up in New York City about Asian heritage, Chinese heritage, and it's trying to debunk this myth that people have that, China made in China things are cheap and of low quality, so they're showcasing Chinese art and Asian cultures and Asian lifestyles in New York City in an effort to breach this border and breach this barrier that people have in the real world, these prejudices and the long-held perceptions about each other that people have in the real world. The last example that I have is another personal favorite. So it's called Brussels, and it's done by the Brussels Tourism City Board to promote tourism to Brussels, because after some terror attacks, people started thinking, oh, it's unsafe and we shouldn't be traveling over there. But they're trying to show you that actually in the real world, it's not as scary as what people make it out to be. So this one has a quite nice video. So let's just roll the video and see how it goes. Oh, all right. It doesn't show, but anyway, what it does is that it shows the tourism board plants doors, so it's like doors in like city squares, and you can open the door, and it's actually a virtual screen, and you can like call people, so people from people outside Brussels can go to a website and make a call, and the call will be connected to like the doors in the cities. And so locals can pick up the call. And so if you're, let's say I'm in Singapore and I'm planning a trip to Brussels, I can go to Call Brussels and actually make a call. And somebody like a local in Brussels will pick up the phone, and I can ask the person questions. And people asking questions like, oh, where are you from? Oh, we're from Singapore. Is it true that it's very dangerous over there? Like the media is reporting that there are so many bombings and terror attacks and stuff like that. And the locals will be like, no, don't listen to BBC, don't listen to CNN, it's very safe, just come over, it's very nice. And there's waffles in Belgium, you can never say no to waffles, so come over to Brussels and visit, because it's all safe and it's all good. And it's all in this effort to breach the barriers between borders and to realize a borderless world where people are truly, truly connected, not just on social media, but also in the real world. So think about the baby steps, the small steps that you can take to truly realize this goal for the consumers in wherever you're targeting them. And the last trend that we have for this session is also centered around social media. And when we talk about brands on social media, you see conversations like the one you see on screen. So brands have Twitter profiles, brands have Instagram profiles, and they use these to really communicate with people and talk to them and post jokes and be funny and everything. But and they're all doing it in an effort to engage consumers and have a more meaningful relationship with their consumers by engaging in talks and conversations on social media. It's just that people still say that they still want more meaningful relationships with brands. So 87% in a recent survey says that they want a more meaningful relationship with brands. And it shows that whatever brands are doing on social media, it is not really cutting it to really create and engage consumers in a meaningful way. And despite all the chatter on Twitter, on Instagram, 66% of global respondents say that brands don't share with them and brands don't really connect with them. And 70% say when brands do connect with them, it's because of a selfish interest to make profits. So consumers are becoming very, very cynical to brand banters and brand conversations, even on social media. And we say that this year is the same survey conducted that the average global rating of a brand-consumer relationship, so when consumers are asked to rate their relationship with brands, the average rating that they gave was 38 out of 100. And that's very low, and that's quite sad. And brands are scoring the lowest on listening openly, telling memorable stories, and acting with purpose. So there's really this big gap of how people really want a more meaningful relationship with brands, and brands are trying their best, going on social media and establishing themselves as human brands and talking to them, establishing a personality, but it is just not getting through to the consumers. And so the solution to this is what we call in Trendwatching the trend attentive attendance. So attentive attendance is about how consumers don't want brands to just be on social media and post jokes or post funny memes. But consumers want brands to really be attuned to what is happening and to respond accordingly to really show that these brands, they care about consumers. So the hero example here is that Nestle in Singapore recently just gave free Milo to people in response to a singer's comments. So what happens is that Singapore has this pop singer called Nathan Hartono who was competing in Sing China. So it's like an X Factor but in China. And he was competing there, and he was interviewed by the national papers, the Straits Times, and he was saying, yeah, okay, thank you so much, Singapore, for all the support. And if I win Sing China, I'm gonna go home and yeah, maybe I'll rent Milo vans and treat everybody to Milo, like iced Milo. So that's what he said in an interview by Straits Times, and it was published at 10:55 a.m. on a day in October, and later that afternoon at 2:55 p.m., Milo Singapore posted the response, and they said, Nathan, win or lose, Milo will still support you all the way. No need to rent, also can. Just let us know where, and we'll bring the van. And they asked the Singaporeans to suggest to them what are the places that Nathan should pick to put the Milo vans. And so it's just like within a day, within a few hours, Milo quickly responded to Nathan's comments on treating people to ice Milo and saying, it's okay, we'll support you. And even if you don't win, it's fine, we're going to rent the Milo van anyway. We're going to roll it out and treat everybody to ice Milo on your behalf. So that's what Nestle did for people in Singapore. Quim's Cake is a bakery in the Philippines. So what they did was that, so there was the Philippines elections recently, and they were saying, if one candidate wins, we're going to treat everybody to a year's worth of cakes. And this candidate really won. And so after the candidate won, then the bakery really said, okay, so now we're really going to treat everybody to a year's worth of free cakes. And how it works is that there are certain slots like every week that you can go to and claim the quota of free cakes for that week. If it's like sold out, then you need to come back the next week for your free cakes. But they're really going to give you free cakes for a year because of the election results. Maxis is a telco company in Malaysia, and what they did was that they created an SOS network in response to a flood. So there is a video, let's see if it can work. All right, it works. So let's just see the video for now.
Saat detik tu tak boleh nak hubungi pada sahabat, pada jiran, sangat-sangat sedih.
Bagi saya lah, masa tu telefon lah paling penting sekali.
But if you have this magical communication, for basic information to be shared, we can just go straight there without making errors and assumptions.
Maxis SOS network is a no-network network. Whenever the network is down, this solution enables people to be reconnected.
Yeah, so we're here in Kuarakai. We're here to set up the Maxis SOS network. In the distance you can see the river, it's starting to rise. Placed on rooftops in an affected area, the nodes connect with each other to form a mesh network. Microservers in some of the nodes host a chat service that routes messages across the network. The system is portable, so it can easily be redeployed to where it's needed the most. Simply connect, then ask the release center for help, or tell your loved ones you're safe.
Kita juga part of giving back to the society yang kita buat ni. Kerana kita rasa memang we owe it to them. Ini sebagai tanda kita menyokong mereka, kita menyediakan perkhidmatan ini.
Yeah, so in response to a flood, then Maxis created this SOS network that can operate without data connections or mobile connections, so that people can just communicate to one another and ask for help and everything. And they say that they're going to keep this initiative, and whenever there's another disaster or whatever, they can roll it out again for their consumers. And so the light bulb moment for this trend is to think about how you can really respond like a human and not just be satisfied by, oh, I already have a Facebook page and like a Twitter page, a Twitter profile, and we engage in banters with people in social media. And so we are already establishing our brand personality, because that does not really cut it anymore when you really want to engage people in a meaningful way. And so truly respond like a human and be attuned to what is really happening and see how your brand can really respond in a really quick way to what is happening out there to really create this engagement and this relationship with your consumers. So just to recap the 5 trends that we have discussed in this first session. So we have all hours access. It's all about catering to the new lifestyle of the urban consumers, the 24/7 kind of lifestyle, of odd hours kind of lifestyle. And then we talked about life on demand, about how now people don't have to buy things anymore, but they just need to get access to it. And how can you tailor your services or even your business model to cater to this new shift in expectation and preferences. And then we also have effortless earnings, whereby people now, they want to be productive and they want to monetize their idle resources as much as possible. And how can you, as brands and business professionals, delight your consumers by letting them do just that? And then the rest, the other two trends around social connections and social media. The first one, borders breached, about how you as a brand can take small steps to truly realize liquid connections that is now possible on social media and bringing it back to the real world. And the last one, attentive attendance, about how as a brand, don't just be satisfied with a Twitter profile that is engaging in jokes and funny memes, but how can you really respond in an agile way and really create initiative that will engage consumers in a meaningful way. So those are the 5 trends that we have for now. We will take questions at the end of the day together with Victoria as well. So if you have any questions, just put it into the app, and then we'll tackle them at the end of the day. But for now, there is going to be a break, and we'll see you back after the break.